Welcome, welcome. Options. Greetings. Lawful welcome. I'm gonna get started shortly. I know say people them take a while to get notified of the live. But TikTok police, lawful, greetings, welcome. Yeah man, we're gonna, as them say, light the fire shortly. Eagle King, lawful, welcome, greetings, greetings. We're going to light the fire shortly. You know, we have people who are still confused, and we're going to shed some light on really digging into some things that not only people don't know, many people still don't know, but also how do we use our newfound knowledge? Rankovich, lawful greetings, welcome. El President. Kem, lawful greetings. Justin, lawful greetings, welcome, welcome. Hope everybody is doing great. Today is going to be a live that is possibly paramount above the rest. Kim, lawful greetings again. Signatories, welcome. You see, it has reached a point. It has reached a point where certain knowledge has become necessary. Certain knowledge that we need has become necessary. So, given that we are in stage 2, right? David, lawful, greetings, welcome. Yeah man, big up yourself same way. We have some knowledge that we have to digest, and when we digest and properly comprehend the knowledge that we have and the knowledge that has been there, it is just a matter of what do you choose to do with it. Today is another action live. Today is another solutions live. We're not going to talk about theories and opinions. We're going to talk about what we can do now, right? What can we do with the information that we have? What can we do with the knowledge that we acquire? Not just look at this problem over here, look at that problem over there. No, we're done with that. We're done with that. We're tired to see the problem them. Everybody is an expert at describing problems. That is what much of society has become. On social media, on the news, in any place that shares information. Winston, lawful, greetings, welcome. In the places that distribute news and media, we find a lot of people who are experts at describing the problem. Sabek, lawful, greetings, welcome. And when we are experts at describing the problem without any knowledge of the solutions to those problems being described, we start becoming victims. Lloyd, lawful greetings, welcome. So today, while I've been teaching knowledge and information so far, this live is going to shed some more light on some things that I would have hoped that some of you would have picked up thus far. But I know the information is voluminous. It is a lot of information. It is not easily processed. And therefore, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the solutions. We're going to talk about what was missed. We're going to talk about the benefits, not only of the ignorance, but the benefits of the damage that has been done thus far. You know, I have had a lot of messages from people asking, why don't you represent people in court? Why don't you join together with some attorneys and start holding the system accountable? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You see, when you have a certain level of comprehension, there are two things that you come to realize. The first thing you can read from the comments of any of my videos, any video that you see where it has gone viral, you will notice it in the comment section. And that fact is that not everyone wants to be saved. Not everyone wants to get out of what people term to be the matrix. Not everyone wants people to overcome. TikTok police say people need to start do their own due diligence and learn how to. Right, not everybody wants to learn. Not everybody wants people to elevate. Not everybody wants the system to change. Not everybody wants to see someone else elevating right next to them. Not everyone wants solutions. So when you come to that realization, it brings you to another standstill. The other standstill is this. Imagine many people try to climb, let's use Blue Mountain between St. Thomas and Portland. A lot of people might try to climb Blue Mountain, right? And it is difficult. And the people them will fail. As them see other people are past them, what them start to discourage them, right? A lot of people are discouraging them. No one see nobody go further than them. Them are going to tell you, say, it never make no sense you better try. It don't make sense you do this. This will always be the same. And a whole heap of people try and look how them get treated. Some people get unalive and gone. So it is that fear mongering you realize is happening with people who simply want things to remain the same. Right? They have given up hope and some of them are benefiting. This is why they don't want to encourage nobody to do anything that will possibly affect or change the system in which they are benefiting from. So they will discourage you at every single chance where them get. You see them in the comments, you see them come on the lives, you see them all about. Right? So you cannot stop people and you cannot force people. Now, that being said, as we go through this journey, we can't just keep on taking information. Just taking in information is like a garbage bin. You acquire, but never use. It has to, well, everyone has a choice still. You may choose to use your knowledge, or you may choose to disregard it, right? So, today, we're going to embrace a topic that many people have asked me to talk about before, and I have declined. But the time has come. The time has come to talk about what many people term to be the straw man. Should we talk about that today? Should we talk about the legal fiction, the ens legis? Does anyone think it's beneficial? Do we want to see it in law? Do we want to find out how we are viewed and why those that try to assert their position are often laughed at, they are ridiculed, and they are given no credibility because they cannot point to the facts? That is simply what it is. You see, any method that you hear about or you come up with, if you don't have the facts to support what you are saying, you are going to be disregarded. You're going to be ridiculed. So today we're going to match fact with reality. That's what we're going to do today. Today we're going to talk about your position as a government employee. Imagine that. Did you know that you are considered a member of the government, a government employee? By law. I'm not talking about theory. I am not talking about any kind of opinionated fringe theory. We're going to talk about the Local Governance Act of 2016. Are you ready? If you're ready, drop a 1 in the chat. Share the live, like the live, and let us begin. We're going to begin in 60 seconds. Drop a 1 in the chat so TikTok knows you are all here, so that we can see some interactions going, so that we can learn beyond the basics today. We will learn how we can take action and stop acquiring information. Yeah, man, big up yourself, Flat Earth G. With Justin said with your ID, TR, and birth paper. No, man, that is not law. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it, man. Don't worry yourself. It doesn't even require a birth certificate to be considered a legal fiction. Just hold on to your horses. So let us gather around the fire and figure out what has been in law for quite some time, and while we are not using it, rest assured it is being used not in your benefit. So let us take a look at what we consider to be law. Why do I say that? The law is anything that is enforced as law. Okay? It don't matter if you don't consider it to be law. If it is enforced as such, if you can get locked up for it, if the court recognizes it as law, if it is looked at on a legal basis, it is considered law. So your opinions don't matter as it concerns whether or not something is law. So let us stick to the topic. This right here is called the Local Governance Act of 2016. You see it right, so? This act may be cited as the Local Governance Act 2016, right, and shall come into operation on the day to be appointed by the minister. And that date here, we have the 17th day of February 2016, right? Now, we talked about this before. Signatories and those who have been on the live before, we talked about this act before, but I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something, all right? So here we have the definition of municipal corporation. It says, municipal corporation shall be construed in accordance with section 5 to 7, right? Everybody see that, right? When I see the screen, drop a 1 in the chat. When I hear the audio, all right, tonight or this evening? All right, good. So the definition that is being used to describe a municipal corporation is that it shall be construed in accordance with section 7 to 5, section 5 to 7. All right, let's go to section 5, because that's where it says our description is, our definition. All right. So 3, 4, and 5. All right. So under section 5, it says the municipal corporation established under the Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation Act, repealed by section 53 of this act, is hereby continued as a municipal corporation under this act, and is to be known by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. And for the avoidance of doubt, all assets and liabilities shall be vested in the municipal corporation, so continued. Right? That was section 5.1 A and B. Here is section 5.2, which again we covered many times. The inhabitants of each parish other than the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew are hereby declared to be a municipal corporation under this act, and each such municipal corporation shall be deemed for all intents and purposes to be the successor of the respective parish council referred to in section 3.2. So it is clear that the government considers everyone, all inhabitants. Who is an inhabitant? Anybody with the in the parish. Anybody will live in the parish. Anybody where rest them head in our house, pan piece of land in the parish. Right? So the government has said the inhabitants of each parish are hereby declared to be a municipal corporation. So this act. Hi Chief Rich, lawful greetings, welcome. This act is a declaration. You see, it has a declaration here. It says the inhabitants of each parish other than the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew are hereby declared. Let me zoom it in so one can see it. Big on the screen. You see? Roy, lawful greetings, welcome. Are hereby declared. So we have a declaration in the act. It is a public declaration. It is a public notice. You see, when someone was asking, what is this public notice you put on your page? Why we need to declare anything on TikTok or put it in the newspaper or put it in some place that is publicly accessible? See it right here, so. It is only because people don't know what this means. This is why it has been all over your head so far. It has been over your head like a cloud. But anyways, you are considered to be a corporation by the government. Right? Does anybody believe otherwise, or does anyone think this does not mean that they are a corporation? If you still read this and you not think, say, by what you just read, you are not looked at as a corporation every time you go out on the road, drop it in the chat. Or if you have evidence to the contrary, go right ahead. No. So this is, in fact, how the government convert you into a straw man. You probably heard the term before. This is how the government convert you into what is called a legal fiction. This is how you are represented on paper. This is why your name is in all caps. We've been telling them legal fiction, right? When you look on your ID, when you look on your passport, when you look on your birth certificate, when you look on all government documents, it is in all capital letters because of this. Now, the question is, do we want to change? Because this is what you call a status change. This is declaring your status in society. Now, there are many reasons. There are many reasons to leave it as it is, and there are many reasons to question it, and there are many reasons you might want to change it. But there are also many reasons why this is not necessarily lawful. But we're not going to get there. We don't need to go so far. So we have seen this before, right? I talked about this on the page before. But here is what we have not talked about. How do we use it? How do we effectively, since they want to say, fine, you are a corporation under the government, and that is that. Right? You can't do nothing about it. Okay. If that is the case, the question is, should we do a change of status? Should we separate ourselves from this declaration? Should we claim otherwise, or should we use this? Should we learn how to use this thing to our benefit? Kwaku says, separate yourself and be an administrator. How are you going to administer something that you did not create? Remember, you know, as you should know, everything is trust law, but we can't explain that on this channel. If you did not create something, when it comes to a legal challenge, you cannot win. The only way you can win when it comes to a legal challenge to something you did not create is by putting yourself in a position of a usufruct. No, me not cuss bad word. There is such a word. You use something, but it is not yours. You're just using it for the benefit. And if the rightful owner come and ask feedback, you give it back to them. Right? So, that is a position you can take, but it has to be declared. If you're not separating yourself from something and you want to be considered in a different capacity, it has to be on paper. Why you think you have, for example, a power of attorney? Like many of you will know. You have a power of attorney. You have a power of attorney, in fact. You have a power of medical direction. You have many legal documents that you can use to change your status, to acquire a position or acquire a power, or you can disavow a power or disavow a position. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. You can't just walk in upon something so. you have to have some documented capacity that is recognized by the legal system. If you don't have that, then you get into legal problems. But here is something you may not have considered. Right now, every Jamaican is considered a municipal corporation. What is a municipal corporation? It is what you call it is a crown created entity. It is not even necessarily a parliament created entity. It is actually a crown created entity, because the Kingston and St. Andrew Act that this thing is repealing, it is coming all the way back from colonial times. A long time this ago, I don't know. So, you see, when time you have something like this, you have to sit down and think about it. What are the benefits to being considered or being declared to be a municipal corporation? If that is the case and we accept it, let me ask you a question. Why you not pay ticket? If you are a government entity, if you are a government employee, or you are considered a government property, how can the government tax itself? How can the government give itself a ticket? Please, I am open to suggestions. If the government say you are a corporation, right? And them say so, is not you declaring yourself to be. So there is no controversy there. Whatever the government say, that they mean, though. How much time I tell you to send back the ticket them? You see, how much I want to? Those of you who have been on the live, what I did say before. I never said that before. I never tell you to say the easiest thing to do is send back the ticket, because it is not yours. It is not your obligation. Some people, they think a joke. Remember, whatever I say, I have the receipts to show. I can show you the lawful standpoint. I can show you a document. I can show you what in law supports what I am saying. So the question is, if you're a municipal corporation and the government say a municipal corporation, and the government now says, hey, listen, you break this rule, here is a ticket. How can the government tax itself? How can the government levy itself? How can the government charge itself? May I wait for the answer them now? Or may I see nobody at typing in the all of that too, employed without pay. If someone is giving you a position, right, and you have not discussed any kind of payment or employment, what do we consider that? You are put into a job, but yet still, you not get no pay for it. You are not recognized as an employee on the payroll. Or are you? Are you recognized on the payroll? It fines its members for breaches of its policies. Well, if that is the case, the members are in a position of office. Remember, if you're an employee, that means you are now in the capacity of employee. You are not there as an individual without a title. So as an employee, you cannot get penalized for not following the rules. The only penalizing you can have is getting fired. Think about it. If you are in a corporation, is there any such thing as the employee getting fined a fee, a monetary value for any breach of policy? No. You get reprimanded, right? But you're not got jail. You're not paying a fine. Them either let you go, tell you say you're no longer an employee, or they impose some kind of penalty. But it cannot be a societal penalty because you are not a member of society, you are a member of the government, and them say so. Baghdad, go ahead. If you want to come up, you can click in the box as well. Alright, let me see if I can change the view. So if you want to come up, you can tap in the box. Or you can type it in the comments, no problem. If we are government employees, why are we paying all of these fees, all of these bills, all of these tickets? Why don't we accept our position and use that position as a native? God, lawful greetings, welcome. Why we are make them treat us as if we are not an employee? So now I say we should live free. Hey, it depends on what action you take. That's why I always say this live is going to be an action live. Mystic Man said everything a slave has belongs to his master. That may be true, but slavery was abolished. So thereby, a corporation cannot tax its employees. Cannot tax its employees lawfully. Right? It cannot take, if you work for somebody or you work for a corporation, it is expected that your energy is returned to you for value. Right? Your energy cannot be expended without compensation, without fair compensation. Can police detain school youth for 48 hours without a charge? They said them punish them. Said them punish them. No, they cannot do that lawfully. But they are counting on the fact that most people will not get an attorney, or no, most people will not do anything. And a corporation cannot own anything either. That's not true. A corporation can own things lawfully. A corporation is considered a person. A corporation is considered to have property rights. The only thing a corporation doesn't have is citizenship. Alright? Alright, I Chief, you're up.
You know, say I tap me, I try to tap up the screen and press the button there.
Okay.
We just take it, because I'm in a position to talk right now.
Alright, cool. Big up. Yeah, so while we have many options, you know, let me switch this back so that we speak properly in regard to this thing here. While we have many options, we first must learn what it is that we have. How much time I tell you to say what? Knowledge before action. We can't run up and down, but we want to take action. We need to do something now. We need to do this right now. No. And then when you take action now and you don't know what else to do, you're stuck. You're in a one bind. You don't know how you're going to work out this now. Right? So that's why I would say education first. Now, this act right here, Wayne, lawful, greetings, welcome. This act right here, right? If you notice the title, what it say? Constitution and Governance of Local Authorities. That is the title. This thing here is literally creating a mini or a micro constitution. It is creating not only statuses, but it is creating a layer of protection and also a layer creating entities. Don't the police can demand a teen if he or she is in problems with the law? Oh, can detain a teen if he or she is in problems with the law until the parent shows up. If it is that there is a crime, again, I cannot offer legal advice, but in my own humble opinion, if it is that someone is engaged in an unlawful activity, it has to be an arrestable offense for the police to detain someone or to lock them up in a cell pending further action. If the police just get up so and lock up somebody because they were being loud or because they were being disrespectful or whatever the case they want to call it, if it is not unlawful, if there is no charge, if there is no evidence to support the lockup, it is unlawful. It's that simple. Again, the problem is going to be documenting who was the perpetrator or the constable who conducted that arrest. Because in such instances, they will not issue a ticket. So you have to go remember to look upon name, or remember the badge number or something. Right? And again, your first line of defense is always to report it to the investigatory agencies. Right? iProbe and Indicom. But anyways, back to this year. The government, and again, this is the Local Governance Act of 2016. So this is not something way much in years ago. This is way past independence. This is right here in a football ballpark. Basically 10 years ago. Right? And they have maintained the structure to say that everybody is a municipal corporation. So if that is the case, that means that it is something current and it is something that is known. This is not something where people have to try to figure out where this come from or what it mean and all of them something there. It has been there for a very long time. It is just that people have not paid attention to it. So if this converts you into a government employee, there is no reason you should not be exercising your government privileges and benefits. If this was me, and I learned this information today, I would print out this very page. I would print out page 6 of the Local Governance Act of 2016. And I would carry this around with me at all times. You see? Because I want to make sure whatever it is, as long as I am not committing an actual crime where I am harming someone or, causing public nuisance or any actual crime, as long as I am not engaged in any kind of criminal activity under the common law, right? Under court-made law, under general criminal elements, right? As long as I am not engaged in that and I am being harassed, I'm going to let it be known that I am a government agent. Because when it go to court, I know if you know, those of you who know me already know. I just become another on the ground right now. But it's only a matter of when I go to court. Not only am I a municipal corporation under the government, I am asking for sanctions. Right? I am demanding sanctions because if I am an employee and I am unlawfully prosecuted on the side of the road, what can the judge say as it relates to the law? When me bring me one sheet of paper, I'm going to say, Your Honor, not only am I demanding that this case be dismissed, I am demanding sanctions against willful negligence of a fellow employee. Because how can you be aware of something like this and still issue a ticket? How can you be aware of something like this and still lock up somebody where there is no actual crime? Problems. Many problems. Right? And remember, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And can't say them never know. Everybody is presumed to know the law. Even if you don't know what this means, I know my problem that. And your problem that. Same way all them say, you need to know the law and you need to follow the law. You cannot drive on the road and you don't know the law. The same, bring the same attitude, bring the same energy. So when you get subpoenaed to court and you have to answer to why you give a government employee a ticket, why you prosecuted a government employee, the same way they look for punish you, the punishment switch around. Right? So again, sometimes we see these things and some of us want to get up and we want to change our status. Now, there are benefits to changing our status, right? And there are benefits to leaving it as is. One of the reasons we change status is to operate in a different capacity, right? So if you don't want to operate under this capacity, you make a public declaration, right? And you take yourself out of this distinction. And then you can go ahead and set your own terms. All right, High Chief, you're up. You can set your own terms when you change your status.
Yeah. Yes, LB. So, quick question. So, according to this section of the Constitution, is it that then?
No, this is the Local Governance Act of 2016.
Right. So under the Local Governance Act, is it then that a government official cannot charge another government official?
That is correct.
Is that? Oh, interesting. Come here, ask, because me I listen, and make sure other people might have the question. So me just ask it for everybody.
Right, because first of all, the police themselves are exempt from the Road Traffic Act, right? And there's also a provision in there that exempt other government agencies. So they would have to give the reason why they are giving an agent of the government a ticket. The comments field could not be left blank. It would have to be in relation to some crime, and the Road Traffic Act is not a predicate, it's not a reason to give a government agent a ticket.
So then, hey, so then that means the police they're not supposed to again nobody no ticket under this act here.
No,
Because the act say the inhabitants them are municipal corporation under this act.
right.
So that make us employees of the state. So
Right.
our police are the state employees ticket then.
Remember the last 3 lives I explained that you pay for ignorance? That is exactly what it is. If you
Yeah,
don't
but
know,
we just ask the question, so everybody can get an understanding of what is happening.
right. Somebody say they are exempt while on duty or as long as they are a police. That is correct. Members of the police force, a matter of fact, members of the government are exempt from the Road Traffic Act. You will never see a police or give a member of parliament a ticket, or a member of any agency a ticket. Does the act exclude any parishes? No. Even though it says, other than the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew, later on in the act, it also states that the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew is continued under this act. So no parishes are exempt. Oh, I see more people want to come up. Sasa Kimix, you're up. What are the penalties in regards to one in that field? Sasa. All right. Sasa already. What are the penalties? Thank you. In regards to one, I'm in that field. The penalties of what? If the police gives a member of parliament or a government agent a ticket? Is that the question? Reading without understanding the meaning of some words will leave some people lost. That is why we are here to clarify. Again, it is in plain language, So there's nothing there that can be construed to mean something else. That's why we start at the definitions first. Maybe I missed the first part of the live, but the definition is there. This entire section is defining. Let us go back up. Let's go back up here, so where it has the definitions. Here it has municipal corporation, right? Municipal corporation shall be construed in accordance with section 5 to 7. So the very section we are reading from, that is what is defining who or what is a municipal corporation. So there's nothing to really dissect there other than what is being said. Ignorance no mean you're fool, it means you just don't know. Right? Police give their drivers ticket though. Police give which driver ticket? Police give police ticket? You have to come back with that one day. Wheel and come again. Can the police be personally liable for violating that act? Yes. Yes, you have to learn how. You have to learn how to demand what you call punishment. In criminal law or in court, punishment is considered a sanction, right? So you have to demand sanctions when you are deliberating a case, once it is proven that some wrong was done by the police, you have to demand sanctions of the court. Some punishment has to ensue, not just dismissing the ticket. So why people ordered by the court to pay the ticket when the court know of this act? The reason is because the court only considers matters that are properly before it. So if nobody make this claim, if nobody bring this up, the court is not going to aid you in your quest. The court is not going to teach you anything. Pleasant afternoon, Hebrew. Yeah, shall I call? Greetings, Carl. All right, we have some more. Carl, you're up. If you have a question, we can bring clarity, but this is not legal advice. Anything I say is my own opinions. If you learn something, good for you. Yeah, man, Tony, no problem. All right, so Carl not ready yet. Carl, you ready?
Even.
Evening.
What's up, Israelite? Yeah, man, shalom. I see I just tune in.
Yeah, okay. Did you have a question?
No, I just tune in, so.
Okay. All right, big up yourself. All right, hi, Chief. I got down so that we can bring up the screen. Good evening. I am new. This means the court is not responsible for your ignorance of the law. That is true. That is correct. The court will not aid you or give you clarity on many of these things. Right? This is why when you walk into court, it is said that you walk in on your own accord. Right? You are considered to be your own attorney. When they say you represent yourself, that is what they mean. It is meant that you are your own attorney. So you are supposed to know everything as it relates to the law. So the court can only consider things that are properly before it. So if you don't present your contentions or you don't bring your claim properly before the court, they are not going to consider it. They are not going to help you. They are not going to look in your favor in many cases, even though that is what they're supposed to do when you bring a case. But when you are being prosecuted like someone has a ticket against you, the constable is considered to be credible. I got a ticket for failure to identify. Okay. I was just watching your video and I'm still not clear on who actually owns the beach. Who owns the beach? So, all right, we're going to switch gears since it doesn't look like we have any more questions about a municipal corporation, right? So, who actually owns the beach? Howard said, so what happened now when you have separate yourself from the municipality? Well, it depends. It depends on what you claim after you separate yourself, right? So it all depends on how you proceed. It is not a default to say if you are no longer a municipal corporation, then XYZ will happen. It all depends on what you declare publicly, right? What are the advantages and disadvantages? That is not something I can talk about here on this live. Disadvantages and advantages of doing this or doing nothing or doing something. That is not something I can really get into here. You'd have to come to class. You'd have to be a signatory for us to discuss that. All right. Now, as it concerns the beaches themselves, let us go back to the Beach Control Act. All right. I hear many people talking about this thing, and you know, I don't get too far in the conversation because hold on there. Let us go back to the Beach Control Act of 1956. All right. So this is the Beach Control Act of 1956. All right. So let us take a look. So remember now that this is a pre-colonial law. It is 1956. See it say? The 1st of June, 1956. So there are many things that you can do with pre-colonial laws. And we're going to discuss one of them right now. Right? Is the police educated on not giving other government agents tickets if they identify as such? I don't know what they are privy of, but if you bring it up and they continue to issue the ticket, then you have a contention you can bring before the court. Many times the police will say, "Me no want hear nothing. Me no want see no document. Me I give you a ticket, this and that, whatever." As I always say, do not argue with the police on the side of the road. If them feel like them still want to give you a ticket, you take your ticket and go on. There are other ways to deal with those situations. This is one of them. You bring the printout of the act, page 6, and you bring it up in court. It's that simple. Public property under common ownership, managed and regulated by the government, common use. You're talking about the Beach Control Act. That is not necessarily true, but we're going to get into the law. Oh, you're asking for someone else. Okay. So let us look at this now. The Beach Control Act, 1956, right? Again, this is before independence, before the current constitution, and before the amendment in 2011, which allowed for the Charter of Rights to be partially infused into the constitution. But let us take a look at this thing here. So let us take a look at the first section, right? It says, make sure you can see it on the screen, you know. Because we have to speak lawfully, right? Subject to the provisions of this section, all rights in and over the foreshore of this island and the floor of the sea are hereby declared to be vested in the Crown. Right? So I talked about this before on one of my posts, but let us go further. What does vested mean? Vested means this is trust administration. That is a trust term. Public trust, private trust, conglomerated trust, religious trust, ecclesiastical trust, it don't matter. This is trust language. Right? It is vested in the Crown. Now let us take a look at a legal definition of vested. So let us open up a legal dictionary. I think the last time we used the Oxford Dictionary of Law. We can open another one too. We don't have to use this one, but let us use Oxford Dictionary of Law. And we're going to find the word vested. It is S-T-U-V. Vehicle. Vesting. Vested. Verdict. Vested rights. Vested in property. All right, so we don't have let us look at vested order and vested rights. All right. No, the words are a little bit small, but we can't really zoom it in anymore. Oh, vesting declaration. Here we go. Right? Because under the Beach Control Act, it is saying it is declared, right? It's a declaration. It's a public declaration, right? So now we look for vesting declaration. Same thing, right? And it says, a statement in a deed appointing new trustees that the trust property is to vest in them, otherwise known as be in their possession. So the Beach Control Act is transferring the trust administration from whosoever had it before and pass on that administration to the Crown. A lot of people are assuming they know what the word vested means. Damien, lawful greetings, welcome. In law, there is no such thing as assumption when you have something called the best evidence rule. So if I were to contend with this law to say this is invalid law, right? And I am challenging that there was no trustee prior to this declaration and thereby this vesting is unlawful. The Crown would now have to come with their evidence to show where they got the land from lawfully. Where is the document transferring this vested interest from one person or agency or authority to the Crown? Where did they purchase it from? Where did they transfer it from? Who lawfully owned it before this vesting happened? Is it? But we're not going to go there. I just wanted to show you what vesting declaration means. Right? You're appointing new trustees. But a trust had to have been established before. So this right here, again, this is pre-colonial. Nobody ever challenged it. It was never put through the constitutional test to see if this is current and valid law. Which certainly, if it goes through the constitutional test, it would violate basic freedom of movement. That is described in section 13. Right? So here it says all rights in and over the foreshore of this island or the floor of the sea derived from or acquired under or by virtue of the Registration of Titles Act or any express grant. Now, we're not going to respond to that one. We need for the ground. That's all the arses. Here we go on, you know. You see, all of them something we read. It takes a disseminating mind to see some of these things. Hear what it says. The rights in or over the foreshore of this island or the floor of the sea derived from. So this basically say all rights in or above the sea. That is all this means. Or acquired under by virtue of the Registration of Titles Act. So here it a tell you say, anything will fall under the Registration of Titles Act. This is where your rights are coming from, right? Or any express grant or license from the Crown. You know what this means? Express grant or license? It means something on paper. Something we write down. Something that you can use to say, this is a record of what happened. Subsisting immediately before the commencement of this act are hereby expressly preserved. How can you preserve a right that has not been established? Where is the document showing that the property that you are claiming went through the lawful process of transfer? Again, this document is claiming that the Crown has lawful administration over the island, over the foreshore and the floor, all of the beaches basically. It is saying the Crown is exercising trustee powers over it. Okay? That is what this means. So now, the question is, where the document they show it? We need to see the chain of title. Now, let us step away from this for a second. Let me show you an easier way to deal with this. Are you ready? Who ready for the easier way? You see, again, when we talk about these things, we have to remember, we have to be solution oriented. We can't be experts at describing the problem. We cannot be experts at describing what is already done. All right? This is the Charter of Rights, the Charter of Rights of 2011. The Charter of Rights is an act to amend the Constitution of Jamaica. That is how it starts out. So, a matter of fact, let us go and look at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Let us go to Google. I'm going to show you something. Again, we're just touching the surface, but I have to give some surface answers. Because I know some of you don't have no patience. I just want to get to the meat and potatoes. Right? So here we have the Charter of Rights. Right? Where our current Charter of Rights come from. Now this Charter of Rights have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sections, right? And when we go through these, this thing here, let's close this. When I go through this thing here, something interesting will come to mind. This document was not adopted 100%. This is like a template. So what them do? In this Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, that is here. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. This is just one of several of them, right? But when you go through this thing here, they did not put in everything that is in this document. Then take out piece, then take out another piece, then put in here. So them change around this. Because if they had put in everything in here, we would have had more recognized rights. I implore you to go and read some of these, but again, I know some of you. Anyways, learn to have patience. Take your time. This is not a very long read. But if you go through and see the original Charter of Rights, you can type it in a Google. Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. And you can go and read it for yourself. Anytime the government implements something, they do not do it into completion. Them take it apart and make a Frankenstein out of it. Let us look at section 48 or so. I'm just going to show you one such provision that was not implemented. See if we can zoom it in a little more. Here it says, presumption of innocence and the right to defense. You notice under section 16 it says you are presumed innocent, but here in the actual article we then take it from it say, and right to defense. It says everyone who has been charged shall be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to law. That not in a way. Respect for the rights of the defense of anyone who has been charged shall be guaranteed. This not in a way. Our rights are not respected as a defendant whenever we have to go in front of a court. We are treated as if we already committed the act and we are in defense. We are defend against the accusation, which is not supposed to be if you are presumed innocent. A presumption does not require you to talk. But anyways, we're not going to go into all of that. We'll go off topic now. But just you want to show and say where some of these things come from in our law. It has no basis. It has no basis in fact when it comes to the original we didn't get it from. So here we have the Charter of Rights, right? And this was enacted April 7th, 2011, right? Is this omitted on purpose and can we go by the original? I cannot say that it was omitted on purpose, but if you have an original and you choose to take something or change it around, that is almost, I will say, evidence that it was clearly changed intentionally to mean something else. Can we go by the original? No. You have to go by what was enacted or what is currently being used as law. There are ways to do it, but I can't discuss that right now. Whereas, all right, so here we have the Charter of Rights, right? And the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms does not mean you are getting any rights. Let me repeat that for people at the back. Because we have so many people who just don't comprehend law and how it works. Just because it says the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, Constitutional Amendment Act 2011, that does not mean that it is giving anybody any rights. And I will show you again, for those of you who have not been to the lives, I am going to show you why that is not the case. Paragraph 1 or section 1, it says, this act may be cited as the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms Constitutional Amendment Act 2011 and shall be read and construed as one with the Constitution of Jamaica hereinafter referred to as the Constitution and all amendments thereto. So basically, they must say, this act is a part of the Constitution, Order in Council 1962. So it says Chapter 3 of the Constitution is repealed and the following substituted thereafter. So Chapter 3 of the original Constitution is deleted and this becomes Chapter 3. See? Everybody follow? All right. So, it starts at section 13.1. A. Whereas the state has an obligation to promote universal respect for and observance of human rights and freedoms. People, I have said this many times. The government has no obligation to respect you. The government have no obligation to observe your rights and freedoms. It says obligation to promote. Promote means what? To promote means to advertise, to tell you. It means to make public, to make you aware of something, right? Promote it. Basically put it out there so that it is inconspicuous. Right? Exactly. It becomes available for public consumption. They don't have any obligation to respect. You see? Them put in the word obligation, but they use obligation in terms of promotion. It's like you have one dance and you put up some flyer about the place. That's promotion. So they have an obligation to promote universal respect for and observance of blah, blah, blah. Right? B. All persons in Jamaica are entitled to preserve for themselves and future generations the fundamental rights and freedoms to which they are entitled by virtue of their inherent dignity as persons and as citizens of a free and democratic society. Wanna get it? All persons in Jamaica are what? Entitled. Let me zoom it in so you can see. Maybe you can see. Let me see if I can bring it up as big as possible. No, that's too big. See it there? All persons in Jamaica are entitled. It's just like them say, you are entitled to apply for a driver's license. You are entitled to acquire a permit. You are entitled to getting a license for business if you go through these steps. Hi, Chief. What you say now? Let me see if I can bring back the box. You have a question? Yes, persons and citizens are completely different. Oh, we got Justin too.
Yes. Just to add this point to where I read this, I want the viewers to note it says persons, not people.
Right.
Person is a commercial term.
Exactly.
So many just want to connect that for them because maybe it go over them head and them not really see it. It never say people.
Right.
It never say all people in Jamaica are entitled. It say all persons. So me just
Well,
want to point that out. If you then kind of get say, I know your I know your living self. It I make reference to.
right.
Yeah, man.
Cool. So, even though this is not talking about people, remember, under the Local Governance Act, you are already a corporation, right? You are already considered to be a corporation. So, under the Charter of Rights, you can now exercise any one of those statuses, right? So, person, what is a person? Let us bring up the Interpretation Act. This is the Interpretation Act, right? Let's see if this one have the definition. Person. Let us see what person means. Person includes any corporation, either aggregate or sole, and any club, society, association, or other body of one or more persons. Right? So, when the Charter says all persons, even though it is referring to corporations and citizens are simply members of a government, those who have subscribed to the office of government, right? So it is not necessarily bad depending on your point of view and what you are trying to accomplish. And you can have multiple statuses. The problem is you can only use one status at a time. GFOS, greetings.
Greetings.
You want to go on? Okay, look like that was a fat finger. All right. So here it says all persons are entitled. So an individual is not considered as a person. The term individual means a single unit of something. An individual by itself doesn't mean anything. But if we say an individual in terms of when we are talking about persons or citizens and so forth, it can mean anything. So if somebody say, are you the individual that such and you answer to it, you have now bound yourself to that definition. Right? Again, those are nuances of law. We're not going to go that far. But here it is saying all persons in Jamaica are entitled to do what? To preserve for themselves. How does one preserve something? It requires action. It requires you to do something. It requires you to get up off of your behind and do something to make sure say you are going out and acquiring something. It is not sitting down and thinking, yeah man, me have all rights. Me good to go. The document say the state supposed to do re. So re. What happened to the assumptions and presumptions of the state? The fundamental rights and freedoms are not for those who don't assert those rights. If you don't claim a right, you don't have any. That is how this legal system works. That is how a colonial system works. This is why the courts are always full. Because there is always somebody in there making a claim. Exactly. Talk about you have rights, no mean you have it. Let me show you something again that some people just missed when we were talking about the Beach Control Act. It says, this is the Beach Control Act section 3.2, right? It says all rights in or over the foreshore of this island or the floor of the sea derived from or acquired under by virtue of the Registration of Titles Act or any express grant. You know what that means? Who knows what express grant means? Drop it in the chat. What does it mean by express grant? Ten more seconds. I type too slow. Get up on a typing game. Proof? No. Expressed by the grantor of a trust, declaration, permission by the government. Express grant means that something that is written on paper. That it, you see, when you see the term in law and it says express, it means something written, something written down. Right? So if you have any interest in something, you have to show where it was written down, on what date, who write it down, who transferred title or who gave authority. Right? That is the same thing as a license in terms of law. But when it concerns ownership, if you read through this entire act, you will notice there is no such term as ownership. It does not say the crown owns anything. None of it. Here you know. This is section 4. No, it's our section 3, subsection 4. No person shall be deemed to have any rights in or over the foreshore of this island or the floor of the sea, save such as are derived from or acquired or preserved under or by virtue of this act. So here the act is saying that everybody lose them interest. Everybody lose them interest because of this act, but yet still it does not reference where the authority came from. It only says up here that it was vested in the crown, but there is no named party where that vesting was transferred from. But you see, when people are read and they don't know what they just read, they assume that just because authority is being exercised, that means it must be valid. It must be valid. But anyways, let us go back to the Charter of Rights. So if you notice, it says you are entitled to preserve, meaning you're entitled to go and claim for yourself and the future generations the fundamental rights and freedoms to which they are entitled. Again, you see it start out, all persons in Jamaica are entitled, and it says to preserve for yourself and your future generations, to which they are entitled. How much time am I telling you this? You cannot sit down and claim a right. You cannot do nothing and don't claim a right. You cannot look and say your rights exist, but yet still it is not written down anywhere. It is not written down anywhere. So, number one, what does this have to do with the Beach Control Act? If you don't claim you have a right to the beaches, if you don't claim that you have a right to the foreshore and the seabed or the seafloor, if you don't go and make your own claim, whether individually or as a group, then whatever them enforce is going to continue. If this is not challenged as a group, that the Beach Control Act is pre-constitutional, and therefore it must pass the constitutional challenge because it is unconstitutional. Where do we find this? Where do we find this? Section... the down here, so. I don't think it's a chart of rights. Let's see. Where we have 17. Religion, 18. Nope. So it is actually in the Constitution itself. I'm going to show you something. So, the Constitution, Order in Council, 1962. Right? And if we go down to section 14, okay, so 14 now. Governor General. Give me a second there. All right, section 19. Section 19 of the Constitution says, if any person alleges that any of the provisions of this chapter has been, or is being, or is likely to be contravened in relation to him, then, without prejudice to any other action with respect to the same matter which is lawfully available, that person may apply to the Supreme Court for redress. What does that mean? If you claim a right and you feel that right is being contravened or that right is violated, you can go directly to the Supreme Court with a claim. And you don't have to suffer damage. You see it say? That your right it has been, meaning your damage already, is being, meaning you currently have damage, or is likely to be contravened. So, if you can prove that this happened to other people already, so you want to make sure that it not happen to you, you are likely to have make a claim in the Supreme Court. Quick question, is the land state owner or holder of land? Is the land state owner? I not get that question there. Is the land state owned? No, I not get that one there. Rephrase that one there. No one can have an individual right in public property for common use. That's not true. It has to be challenged in court first, because the Beach Control Act does that very thing that you're talking about. Remote tours, lawful greetings. Welcome. That's why there's a thing called claim of rights. Exactly. Land title states holder or owner of land. All land titles are going to say holder. And if there is an off chance that someone has a title that says owner, it is invalid. No one has an ownership right under the crown or any authority granted by the crown. Individual rights and public rights are separate and distinct from each other. That is correct. That is correct. Now, we're not going to really get into some of the other things with land. But as it concerns the Beach Control Act, it is in violation of the Charter of Rights. Right? And you can make a Section 19 application for redress to the Supreme Court. I'm not going to go through that panel live, but you can do that. You can do it as an individual or as a person, as a group. Right? We already see what person mean, right? It means any corporation, either aggregate or sole, or any club, society, association, or other body of one or more persons. So, you can just come together and call yourself beach advocate. And you can literally go to court with a name there. If you say the whole away, come together, and this is what we are called, and we are exercising our right. We're exercising the right of freedom of movement and freedom to access anywhere in Jamaica that is not restricted by law. And this current law, the Beach Control Act, is restricting our access, public access to the island. You can do that if you so choose. But you can't sit down and complain and say, them a do this and them a do that. You have to learn how to take action. But you can only take action after you have knowledge. Right? Now, we already went through the very first section of the document. Right? You already see what that says. You are entitled to claim your rights. That is what it is telling you. If you decide to sit down and think, say, you have rights, I mean, society can readily correct you right there. When you go out a road, you are not treated as having no rights. When the police stop you, what do they say? Your license is a government document, which they are correct. You don't have no right to it. You only have a right to produce it. You have a right to give it to the constable if he asks for, right? Now, how you go about that interaction is completely up to you. But at the end of the day, if it is the property of the government, then why are you being held accountable for the government's own property? What is your status as it relates to the driver's license? And you cannot be a driver either. You cannot be a driver. Why? That is a presumption of law. Let us open the Road Traffic Act of 2018. That is correct. You don't have any rights until you declare them to be so. So here we have the Road Traffic Act of 2018. Right? Let us go to the definition section. Definitions: child restraint system, commercial motor vehicle, constable, constabulary force document, driver license. So people, let me ask you a question. We have driver license registrar, driver offenses registrar. Where is the definition for driver? Did we miss something? Where is the definition for driver? We have driver license, we have document, we have driver license registrar, we have driver offenses registrar. Where is the definition for driver? So how can you be charged as a driver when the law does not define who a driver is? Hi, Chief said doesn't exist. But hold on, let us check the road traffic regulations, because them say what? The Road Traffic Act and the Road Traffic Regulations are to be read as one and the same. So let us look at the definitions under the Road Traffic Regulations of 2022. And we've been over this before, you know, but I know what's in a phone now. I realize that we got live over here, so. And here we have the road traffic regulations. And we have daytime running lamp, dead vehicle, director, driving instructor, electric motor vehicle. So where is the term driver? So I'm asking a question. How you get charged as a driver? You see how much gems you get? You see how much definitions you get? You see how much you get today? When we say come to class, just remember that this is the basics. We've been through this many times. But again, awareness is necessary first. Knowledge is necessary first. You can't run in and take action when you don't comprehend the full gamut of what we're talking about. Right? So, at the end of the day, there is always a remedy. There is always a way to get things done. It is just a matter of perspective. Why do you think them have so much law? Why do you think them have so much documents? They might try to hide what a driver is by law. Check the law dictionary for a definition. Exactly. You will see what a driver is, and I've covered it many times. If they were to put the definition of a driver, it would either be contradicting in law or they would lose a lot of money. Greetings, are you a part of the indigenous people? What that mean? I'm born in Jamaica, yes. So I'm indigenous to Jamaica. Today is the start of my class journey, and it seems that I am at the back. GeForce. Yeah, once you start, that is what counts. I got charged for using fog lamps at 9:27 p.m. I see. Yeah, surprising the agents are not reporting the live today. The native people of Jamaica. Yeah, man. I am a native of Jamaica, but I am not a part of any tribe. I am not a part of any group, per se. So if you're asking about affiliation, no. Yeah, man. Typically, I will have at least 2 violations on my TikTok live saying that I am showing inappropriate material or whatever. Some foolishness. You say your knowledge is just like what they're teaching. I doubt that, but okay. Interesting. How to become a signatory. For those wondering, for those who are new here, and you're wondering, what are we talking about when we say come to class? What are you talking about when you see people say, or you hear me mention that this is just the surface of discussion when we talk about class? class is at voiceofjamaica.com. Yeah, probably if the agents were reporting, the live wouldn't be broadcasted so much on TikTok. So the website is voiceofjamaica.com. And once you see that banner, you know you're in the right place. See? And in the menu, you click on signatories. This is for those who want to come to class, if you want to learn beyond the basics that we're showing here. And becoming a signatory, a matter of fact, let me make the disclaimer again. Nothing that we do is for profit. Nothing that we do requires a fee. You don't have to pay for anything. So, let us make that clear. So you click on signatories in the menu, and you will be presented with a form, and you will also get information about what it means to become a signatory, right? And you will have 2 links here to give you more information. So you would fill out the form, you submit it, and you check your email within 24 hours, right? So that is how you become a signatory. That is how you come to class. That is how you learn beyond the basics. We can only show so much here on TikTok. Can't really go in depth about what we're really talking about and what really is going on. One more thing. When you go to voiceofjamaica.com, in the menu, there is something called My Voice. These are the instructions for those who are new here. These are the instructions on how you can remove the chains and the curses from your bloodline. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you're under attack, if you feel like you can't elevate as far as you know you have the potential to, if you feel like your family seem to be in a downward spiral, whatever it may be, if you want to remove the covenants, contracts, blood oaths, or anything that is holding your bloodline back, the instructions are right here. You go to voiceofjamaica.com and you click on My Voice. And these instructions only affect you. Them are go say Obia. Anyways, for those who can read, right? You read and see if it is something that is beneficial to you, and you choose whether or not you want to do something like this. It's that simple, right? If someone wants to consider it, whatever, that is your perspective, that you have that option and that choice, right? But at the same time, you have to always realize that everything is not what you see, right? We can't see the past, we can't see the future. Many of us don't have any kind of contact with our ancestors. And part of these blockages are what is stopping it, right? This is also directly related to law. Somehow when we can't understand is like you see the potential. You see say what is being said and what you learn is important, but your brain can't retain it. There might be something in your bloodline blocking it, blocking you from moving forward. Right? So, if you find this important, you alone could have find this. Nobody else could have find it. See? But at the end of the day, you have to make that choice and figure out whether this is beneficial to you or not. See? So, that being said, back to these things here. So number 1, let us recap. Under The Local Governance Act of 2016, Section 5(2). All Jamaicans, or una call themselves Jamaicans, all of you are one municipal corporation. You have that status. If you choose to use that status, then where you pay a ticket for? A matter of fact, all of the bill them where you get, where you send them, go to the accountant general. Or you send them back to them head office. Why don't you send them to the processing center? That is just a question. I just ask. If them are declare say me a part of the government by converting me into a corporation, why me not send them one electric bill and one water bill and make them discharge it or take care of it? Why me I go get up and pay them bill? Me just ask. Me can't tell nobody what to do. And hear me say earlier, me can't give legal advice. Anything I say is my own opinions. If you learn something good for you. Let us ask ourselves a question. If we have one bill and we send it go somewhere, and I know them forget it, what them I gonna do? Them not gonna send it back or throw it in a garbage. It's that simple. Right? If you send a bill go the wrong place, either them send it back or them throw it in a garbage. Can we get in trouble for sending someone a bill? Or sending an entity a bill? Or sending a location a bill? Just a ask. As Finsack would say. So, if me get a ticket and me considered to be a municipal corporation, me considered a part of the government. So therefore, me I go send this back to the government. So me look on it. If me have a problem with the Beach Control Act, and this is pre-constitutional, this was at 1956, don't? Beach Control Act of 1956, right there. There? June 1st, 1956. I would challenge this. I would bring a constitutional challenge to this act. Because if an act did not pass through the constitutional test, that means that it is possible it is in breach of the Constitution. And it must, the sections that are in breach must be removed, or if it is critical to the act must be repealed. Now, here is an interesting thing, right? Here's an interesting thing. If it is saying here that the beaches are vested in the Crown, right? And according to the Constitution, where is it? Let us go back to the Constitution here. According to the Constitution, right? It is saying that, sorry, the Independence Act. Let's go back to the Independence Act. There is something called the Jamaica Independence Act of 1962. Right? It is saying that Jamaica, an act to make provision for, let me zoom it in so one can see. So what are we on the same page? An act to make provision for and in connection with the attainment by Jamaica of fully responsible status within the Commonwealth. So if Jamaica, as of 1962, gain fully responsible status within the Commonwealth, then how comes the Beach Control Act is still being enforced as law when Jamaica now has fully independent status? It don't make any sense. Is either one valid or the other valid? It can't be the two of them. So automatically this Crown Vesting Act is invalid because in 1962 Jamaica gained fully independent status. So which one is it? Is it independent or is it still vested in the Crown? They have to pick one. The two of them can't be valid. Right? Exactly, which master gets served. So at the end of the day, if this is supposed to get a constitutional challenge, every single provision would have to be tested against the Constitution and the Charter of Rights. And I can almost guarantee, if this get a proper challenge, a matter of fact, just from Section 3, it would be abolished. It would cease to exist because everything rests on this Section 3(1) here, talking about vested in the Crown. The vesting itself needs to be proven on record, which them not gonna do. Almost guaranteed them not gonna do that. So, regardless of how they want to put it, it don't make any sense. The Road Traffic Act and the regulations do not have driver defined. Again, so why would not accept this title of a driver, saying that you were driving? It don't make any sense. It is almost like we have, what am I gonna call it? It is like we have collective insanity. That is what it appears to be. The whole away I run going to court and appear. I run go to tax office and appear. And we don't realize that we're not supposed to appear. And the people them who know, them not tell you. So you just keep getting the disadvantage. You keep on getting the shit in the stick, as the mother say. And nobody not tell you. Nobody not tell you. So it's just collective insanity. We are do the same thing and I hope for a different result. Them say, operator, when was the last time you heard any police officer tell you say, oh, you're the operator of a vehicle? But let us explore that option. This is the Road Traffic Regulations of 2022. Where is the word operator? We have overall length, overhaul, overall width, overrun brake. Where is operator? Okay. Let us go here. Road Traffic Act of 2018. It doesn't even have anything other than overtaking. So where is operator defined? Driver or operator? Which one? None of them are in neither the Road Traffic Act nor regulation. So how are you going to tell me that I was an operator or a driver of a car? You are now punishing me in law for something that is not expressly stated in law. How can I be a driver and the law does not define driver? How can I be an operator when the law itself don't explain or express what an operator is? The law does not work by inference. This is why they write down things. If it was the fact that the law goes by opinions and how people think and feel, we wouldn't write down nothing. What would be the point of something being written down? Exactly. Now, I've heard some people come around saying that, under common law, under common law, under common law. You see, if you don't know something called the hierarchy of law, it don't make sense you try to explain certain things. You see, if you comprehend how things work, whenever you hear the term common law, you attack it viciously. Anytime you hear the term common law in this day and age, you say, objection. Common law does not apply in this system of law. We have statutory law. We no longer have common law. Where statutory law exists, the common law has no place. Let me say that again. Where statutory law exists, where them write down the law and write what the law is, the court cannot use their own determinations to constitute substitution of law. The law has to be what is written down, and that's it. So if the court them say, under statutory, under the common law, X, Y, Z, and Z, and Z. Object. Your Honor, where in law does it permit the common law to be used or substituted? Is statutory maritime? No. It is not. So, I hope you took notes. I hope it was educational and inspirational. I hope this was a fire live. And I hope that you can create your own actions out of what was discussed. Yes, the Constitution is statutory. Any document that is purporting to be law or enforced as law is statutory. That is what it is called, express statutory. So big up on yourself. Hope that was educational and inspirational. And we will continue again. Maybe tomorrow, but most definitely Wednesday. Can you give us a definition of common law you use? Common law is judge-made law. Common law is court orders masquerading as law. Yeah, man, Austin, big up on yourself. So, common law doesn't have any place anywhere that we have statutory written law that we can go by. The section to be printed is the Local Governance Act of 2016, Section 5(2). That section is where the government convert everybody into a government agency or a government agent as a municipal corporation. All right? That's enough gems for one day. Big up on yourself. Lawful, always.